game, I think there's only one side to take. And for the public taking the other side, I think you're absolutely insane. Now, again, I hate when the public, the media, people make me go on the opposite side of a team I really do like. I want to talk about this Oregon team for a second. I think this Oregon team is elite. I think they are one of the best 6-7 teams in the country. I think they're a national championship contender. I love Dan Lanning. I think the offense is super talented. I think they have 3 backs that are really, really good. I think Dante Moore has looked super impressive. For me personally, I think he's looked very impressive because what he's able to do with his arm, I get it. He hasn't played anybody, but again, not relying on his legs. We know he can do that. His arm has been phenomenal. The Corey Moore has came on a lot quicker than they thought. I thought it was a possibility for sure because he reminds me of a guy very similar to Jackson Smith-Njigba, one of the best players in the country when he played. But the Corey Moore, a slot guy, a guy with speed, a guy with great routes, that's a guy that translates, and he has been translating. Kenyon Sadiq, I do really like as well as a top weapon. He's a guy that's going to go in the first 2 rounds of the NFL draft, in my opinion. A mismatch against linebackers, I think he's too fast. Against secondary players, I think he's too big. I think he's a great number 1 option. The defense has been good, but again, they haven't played anybody. My issue with this Oregon team is they're just getting too hyped too fast, in my opinion. For people to think that this Oregon team at this moment is better than last year's, I think is absolutely absurd. I think it's pretty insane to say that. When we look at Dylan Gabriel being a complete veteran in college football, where Dante Moore got absolutely blasted at UCLA and is playing good football, learning under Dylan Gabriel, hasn't played anybody. I think Dylan Gabriel is way more prepared for the moment. I think Dylan Gabriel had a phenomenal season last year. I think there was nothing that really could confuse him. As a pure passer, I thought he was phenomenal last year. A guy that was at the Heisman podium, where Dante Moore could be. But again, I want to preference this. I think Dante Moore is way more talented than Dylan Gabriel. There's no doubt at his size, what he's able to do with his legs, his arm. He's way more talented. I think at the end of the day, at the end of their careers, Dante Moore, when he goes into the NFL, is going to be way more suited than Dylan Gabriel is, although I love Dylan Gabriel. But last year at that point, the veteran Dylan Gabriel is where he is in FBS passing yards. Dylan Gabriel was a better quarterback last year than Dante Moore is at the start of this year, without a doubt, in my opinion. Then when you look at the offense, they had 2 X's last year. They had Tez Johnson, that was one of the best receivers in the country. I know where he went in the NFL draft. Again, he was not going to be as good as an NFL player as he was as a college player, but no doubt one of the best receivers in the country last year. They had Evan Stewart, who's, again, another number 1 X receiver, who they were supposed to have this year. If they had Evan Stewart, maybe I would feel a little bit different. And then they had Trajan Holden last year, who's also an NFL receiver. Jordan James, who's an NFL back. They had arguably the deepest tight end room in the country when you look at Terrence Ferguson, how high he got drafted, Patrick Herbert, an undrafted free agent. And then they also had Kenyon Sadiq again. Like, this offense was way deeper, way more experienced than this year's. So the fact that we're going to say that this Oregon team could possibly be better than last year's, again, when we get to the end of the season, how this offense develops, possibly they could go farther. Because, again, this Oregon team got tested in the beginning of the year against Ohio State, and they were prepared to complete that test. Now this Oregon offense is completely different. Like I said, Kenyon Sadiq steps into a number 1 type role where that wasn't his role last year. The Corey Moore they're relying on as a freshman. They have a new quarterback in Dante Moore. And they got to go on the road in Penn State in a whiteout. This Penn State team has an identity to win. They have way more experienced talent than this Oregon team has. They have a quarterback in Drew Aller that they have been rolling with in their 3rd year. They have 2 running backs that they have been rolling with. 2 NFL running backs in 3 years. A veteran offensive line. A defense that's coming back with more experience. Like, again, in a whiteout, to test this offense, they're not going to be able to go under center. I mean, they're not going to be able to go in shotgun. They're going to have to go under center for a majority of this game. Again, do I believe necessarily that James Franklin needs to have this win? No. He hasn't had wins against big opponents, but it's going to come within the season. But I believe Penn State, this was a year where they pushed their chips to the table with the amount of people they were able to bring back. I believe they're the better team. They know their identity. They're going to have this environment backing them up. Arguably, the biggest environment in college football, a whiteout Penn State game. I believe it's a no-brainer. Penn State minus 3.5. This is too early of a test for Oregon. Penn State, we know what they got.